FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and even as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is simple to use, and you can bet on anything on FanDuel, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Let's welcome in Tim Couch. And Tim, 21 years ago to the day, you led a 92-yard, 2-minute drive touchdown drive with no timeouts against the Ravens to keep the playoff hopes alive. You tossed a game-winning score with 29 seconds to play to lead the Browns to a 14-13 win over the Ratbirds, and the Browns ended up making the playoffs this season. So 21 years, this memory is now legally able to drink, and congratulations, and thank you again for the happy memories.
It's been drinking for
Baltimore.
years. It's just been doing it illegally.
Well, now it's legal.
That's exactly right.
Tim did that, and Tim, thanks for joining us as always today.
Hey, good to be with you guys. I appreciate it. That was a good memory. The thing I remember most about that game is I hadn't done anything the whole game until that last drive. So fortunately, we were able to finish off with a good drive to win the game. So always tough on the road against Baltimore. But
hey Tim, is Flacco's great play and his comebacks making you think about a comeback now, or what?
Well, after 2 back surgeries, I think I'm done. But, it's fun to watch him play, man. It really is. I think, I didn't expect this much out of Joe. I thought when they brought Joe in, it was going to be more of a game manager type, just don't make mistakes, go to the right place with the football, don't turn it over. They've cut him loose. Joe Flacco has thrown for over 300 yards 2 weeks in a row, and it's his offense. We've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. We're not running the football particularly well right now. But Joe is out there making plays. Obviously he's turned the ball over a few times. A lot of that, a few of those turnovers weren't his fault, either a wrong route or a tip pass or something like that. But Joe's making plays. He's making some unbelievable throws, and they're winning games with him, and it's super exciting to watch.
Tim, what when you're in the meeting rooms, right? Because you've been in there with a lot of guys and a lot of different skill sets. What's the difference between the way the offensive coordinator and the quarterback talk to game managers and guys they cut loose? Like, what is the rhetoric different? Is there a certain package of plays that you see on film like, no, you should have checked that down? Or do they let you throw? How does that work?
Yeah, it more depends on the player. I think you kind of coach all the guys the same way. You want everybody to be that game manager and take care of the football, priority number one for every quarterback. But then, personalities take over. I think once you get out on the field, you can coach me, or you can coach Ben Roethlisberger or Peyton Manning or Brett Favre, and you can coach us exactly the same way. When it gets out on the field, we're all going to make our own decisions and play the game the way that we play it in our style. And guys are going to, not be so aggressive and force the football down the field. And you're going to get a guy like Brett Favre who's going to say, I'll take a few interceptions because I know I'm going to come back and throw, 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then there's other guys that are saying, I'm going to manage the game a little more. I'm not going to try to turn the ball over. I'm going to be conservative. If it's not there, I'll check it down or tuck it and run and do those kind of things. So you coach everyone the same, but, like I said, everyone's personality comes out once they have the ball in their hand.
Tim, he's made some great throws. You talked about the picks, and some of them were definitely not on him. Those are balls that are going to be picked off. You throw it 40 times a game, you're going to have interceptions in there. The one throw that really stood out to us last week was the route to Amari Cooper that he took for a touchdown. I don't know if you remember the play. I think we have it on tag board. We don't. You may remember the play. There were defenders converging. The lane, which maybe started this big, was about the width of the football by the time the football got to him. Cooper made the catch and took it for a touchdown. Talk about what's going on in his head as he sees that play developing. He knows that you're trying to throw a football between 2 moving walls that are closing in on each other. What's the thought process of that? And what in your mind is the completion probability of that throw before he makes it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that throw, which was unbelievably impressive, I think was the anticipation that he threw the football with. When he let it go, my first reaction was, oh no, this is a pick, because I knew it was cover two, and that corner is just going to sit right there and fall back into that crossing route, and then you got the safety driving on it as well. And when he let it go, I mean, the window was like it was not there, but he anticipated that throw and put it in the only spot possible that he could put it in. And I think for a guy like Joe, that's he just has a lot of belief in his arm strength, and I think you have to. That's number one with a throw like that. You have to believe that you can fit that football into a tight space, and it has to be perfectly accurate. If it's not, it's going to get knocked down or picked off. And he threw it with perfect timing, perfect accuracy. And, for a guy who's been on this roster for what, 3-4 weeks now, it's unbelievable that he's out there making those type of plays at that point in a game. That was a game-winning play. And, just phenomenal for a guy like Joe, who had some turnovers early in the game, to still have the confidence to throw that football down the field into a defense like that, into a tight window, and he's able to make that play. It was super impressive, and man, that was fun to watch.
Tim, I haven't seen that route all year. And why did that play look so unique? Was it the coverage? Was it the route? Or am I just making too much of it? Because I'm the same as you. I said earlier in the show, I thought it was a pick as soon as it left his hands. And I was talking to Garrett earlier. It just felt like it's a different route tree with Joe. And some of these guys are running some different routes that they weren't with DTR and with PJ. And that play in particular is something that I don't recall seeing before. Why did it look so unique and strange at least to me, and I think to a lot of people?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is because of Joe. I think they've opened up the route tree with Joe because of his ability to push the ball down the field. I think with PJ and DTR in there, I think it was a little more of a conservative game plan. With Joe, they're throwing the football down the field. I love some of these play actions on second and short, third and short, where he's chunking it down the field, getting big plays. It's just been everything's kind of opened up, and I think also you factor in the running game has slacked off the last several weeks as well. So it's forced Joe and the offense to have to open up to get some more plays down the field and try to create some of those splash plays and put points on the board. So, and Joe has the ability to do that. I think that's the key. Is to have a guy like Joe who has the experience to know when to throw those balls and when not to, and he knows the windows he can fit them in. He's done this a million times, and it's just it's looked totally different. You're talking about a guy who won a Super Bowl in this league, who's been a starter for a very long time, who's been a very productive player over a long period of time, and it's it's showing out there. Even though he's on a new team and a new system, he still has all the confidence in the world in his abilities to throw it down the field, and I love to watch it. It's fun to watch this offense open up and let these receivers go make the plays that they're capable of making.
Tim, you mentioned play action out of the shotgun. According to Next Gen Stats against Chicago, on play action passes out of the gun, Flacco was 7 for 7, 190 yards, and a perfect 99.9 passer rating. So whatever he's doing, it's working to perfection.
Man, keep it going. Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, you talked about him playing with confidence, right? Like, I don't want to take away any credit from the coaching staff. Kevin Stefanski's done a magnificent job. This team is unlike the last decade, for the most part, of Browns football. They've played with confidence, with toughness, and all of that. But it feels like the way Joe has played and the moxie or the veteran influence that he has brought to the offense, that he has lifted the confidence even higher of the rest of the team. Do you buy that?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I think with Joe's just presence of walking out into that locker room with what he's accomplished in this league, guys automatically believe in him, and then they see him throw the football and say, "Damn, he still got it." This guy can still sling it like he used to. So guys are going to buy into that. They know Joe's a winner in this league, and he's done it over and over in his career. So they're going to buy into him. And I just think it's unbelievable what this team has accomplished this year. If I told you before the season started we're going to lose Nick Chubb for the season, we're going to have a ton of injuries on the offensive line, we're going to have 4 starting quarterbacks, and we're going for our 10th win this Sunday, you would think I was crazy. I think that's that's a recipe for disaster for any team. But this Browns team has been resilient. They've played phenomenal defense. They've come up with crucial plays at crucial points in the game to win these games. And it's just been crazy to watch how this team has found different ways each week to win football games.
Tim, I want to change up just for a second. The Steelers safety who's suspended for the rest of the season after that throw in the Colts game. And I'm taking it back a little bit to Joe, and I've joked with these guys before that P.J. Walker was throwing hospital balls to Amari Cooper and got his ribs busted, basically. And we saw – and I didn't think it was a very good throw in that Colts game that I forget the receiver now that got hurt on the play. But
Michael Pittman.
Thank you, Michael Pittman. And Tom Brady said earlier, he put it on the quarterback. As a former quarterback, where do you fall on this? Because we haven't seen Joe really expose his receivers to nasty hits, whereas some of these younger guys do. And I do think it goes back to quarterback play and the position that you're putting these receivers in. Have you had receivers come to you and say, man, you're going to get me killed if you keep throwing it there? And just where do you fall on the quarterback's responsibility with receivers?
I think it's all on the quarterback, in my opinion. I think the quarterback can see what's out in front, and the receiver is trusting you to throw that football in a spot where he's not going to get hit, because if he's doing it especially back when I was playing, the rules are different now, but coming across the middle took a lot of courage. Those safeties were headhunting, those linebackers were trying to take your head off. You can't really, hit them like that anymore. But still, there's a level of confidence that those receivers have in the quarterback to trust that when you throw me in the middle into this window, that there's no one there going to take my head off. And the biggest thing for a quarterback is, what I always try to do was never throw the football high across the middle, because two things can happen. You're going to extend the receiver's arms up, which exposes his ribs, and you put him in position to take a big hit, or the ball's going to sail over his head or get tipped and you got an interception. So I always tried to keep it, chest or hip height, where he had to go down to catch the football. So if there was a collision, that he was going to be in that kind of protected position where he could, not expose himself. So those are my biggest things, is always see what's out in front of the receiver, try not to lead him into trouble. And if you're throwing across the middle, just kind of keep the ball low to medium level, never extend the receiver high across the middle.
Tim, you talked about before about how the running game has been ineffective for really the last at least 3 weeks. We talked about, obviously a big part of that is the offensive line, certainly, but we've talked about it. G and I especially have been bringing up the fact that we feel like Jerome Ford's vision hitting the holes is maybe not what it should be. Do you think because of the offensive line struggles, they'd be better off giving a veteran like Kareem Hunt more carries, who has probably, more natural instincts and he's used to seeing things that maybe the younger back wouldn't? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Kareem's one of those guys who's always kind of going to get you those positive yards. He's not going to be, probably not as explosive as some of the other backs, as far as hitting those home runs. But Kareem's going to see the hole. He's going to hit it. He's going to put his head down. He's going to drive the pile. He's a positive yardage back. He's going to average 4 or 5 yards a carry, and you can trust him. He's been productive in this league for several years now, and I think he probably would benefit from getting more carries, and it would probably help the running game. But like you said, it's been a struggle with the offensive line moving pieces each week with all the injuries that they've had, and rotating at quarterback. 4 different starters there, and it's just it's a bad recipe to have a consistent running game with those kind of things.
Tim, Bull gave us a stat yesterday that the Cleveland Browns, going back to the 50s, maybe ever in their entire history, have never won 12 games? Or was that
one time?
One time.
Since they've been in the NFL, like when they were in the AAFC or whatever.
So as an NFL
since they've
team,
been in the NFL, they've won 12 games once with Bernie in '86.
So
that's it.
I thought they were 11-5. They were 12-4 once with
12-4,
yeah. They could get there. They could do that this year. They could, when you look at the schedule, these are all games that they should be favored in, and they're all winnable. They could easily lose all 3 too. You know how that goes. But what would it say to you if, with all of these dings and adversities, and you mentioned them earlier, the Chubb, the line, 4 quarterbacks, that this front office and this head coach has guided this team filled with hurdles thrown in their way? It becomes the second Browns team in their existence in the NFL to win 12 games. What does that tell you about this team and those that run it?
All positive things. I think, to me, it says that Kevin Stefanski, if that happens, if they go on to win 12 games and maybe if they just win 11, I think Kevin Stefanski is, should be heavily considered as coach of the year, with what he's had to deal with all the moving pieces. He's done a phenomenal job, in my opinion. And I think, the front office has done a good job of bringing in the pieces that they needed to bring in. As the season has gone on and we've had the injuries, we brought in the right pieces. Obviously, bringing in Joe was a huge factor, and they have the right pieces on defense, and they're playing great ball over there, and they're well coached. And Schwartz has made a huge impact on that side of the ball, obviously. And it's just unbelievable. You know, like I said earlier, it's with all the things that they've had to deal with this year, and they're going for their 10th win this year, and have a very realistic chance of winning 12 games is unbelievable. You know, this team has been resilient. We've seen a lot of guys step up and have big years. I think David Njoku has had a career year. I love seeing the progression that he's made. You know, especially a guy like that who's had 4 quarterbacks back there, and he's still having the best year of his career. And each week he seems to get better and better, and he's playing at a high level. And I love seeing the growth of some of these players. It's just it's been a fun year to watch. It really has been. I know it's been frustrating in a lot of areas with the injuries and a lot of moving parts and all that stuff. But they've just continued to find different ways to win games, and I think a lot of that goes to credit to Coach Stefanski and his staff.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, what's your hunch? Who wins this one?
I think the Browns win this game. I think it'll be tough. They haven't been good on the road this year. I think, what are they, 2-4 on the road? They've been much better at home. The defense has not kind of been the same on the road as they have been at home, but I think they get it together this week. I think it's very important that Joe limits the turnovers this week on the road because, like I said, the defense hasn't been quite as good on the road, so he'll have to play a little more conservative, I think, and not. But I think the Browns find a way to win this game on the road.
Very good, Tim. Merry Christmas,
Thanks,
happy
Tim.
holidays to you and your great family, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas to you all as well.